You know, after all the changes Capcom has made based on our feedback to Wilds, I really do be feeling like this. Monster Hunter Wilds. Hello, my fellow hunters. Where do I begin? What a day, what a week, what a time to be slowly waiting for the seconds to inexorably pass, bringing us closer, yes, to our own deaths, but closer to Wilds, where we're never going to feel more alive. Isn't life beautiful in its chaos? Okay, look, I don't know. Look, it's important to remember that we shouldn't judge each other. Look, I just wanted to take a beat and honestly kind of give a, alright, high-fivey shout-out, I see you, to Capcom. Like, it says a lot when everyone who's had this new early little preview with this more up-to-date build has essentially said something along the lines of, yes, so every complaint I wrote down and submitted as feedback from the beta has now been addressed and is better. You guys don't like instant glaive not being able to bounce? Boom, it can bounce. You guys don't like the to hit stop is kind of lessened? Boom, massive amounts of a hit stop. And it's just kind of refreshing in a world where, for the most part, lots of game devs kind of don't really give a shit, and that's definitely sad to say. Now, the whole point of today's video isn't literally just, you know, woo, yeah! It is a few other little features that aren't as necessarily inherently exciting, but I think show the kind of level of detail that Wilds really has when it has thought about the player experience and how we're going to interact with it, and how I really think we are setting up for not just the best Monster Hunter game, but for a game of all time. It's a shame it might end up having to compete with GTA 6 because it's going to take something like that to have anyone have any kind of discussion when it comes to Game of the Year. I mean, just look, how many games can you slice a pink monkey actively farting on you with a giant flaming chicken sword? You just can't get this anywhere else, and I think that's really important to stress. And yeah, actually, this quematrice greatsword, which I'm assuming it is, it is a gnarly looking weapon. Honestly, the equipment in Wilds in general is looking really good. I love that it has this sort of used and really worn and a little bit more raw aesthetic. It kind of mirrors that of the monsters. And yes, obviously there is of course the equipment looks like the monsters. It's the point of Monster Hunter. But I think the real vibe has been captured, and that's really sweet. And ultimately, it makes sense that this kind of attention is being given. Wilds is set to be Capcom's biggest ever game. It's the essentially spiritual sequel, it's the World 2 in essence, and thus it is a direct follow-up to their current best ever performing game. So to say it needs to succeed is an understatement, as I imagine a lot has been put into it in every facet. And there's still a couple things that I'm hoping do get tweaked. I really hope there is going to be an option added to disable skill pop-ups and little notifications that you don't really need to have, like a flash being successful or not, or skills activating. Now we've seen critical draw popping on and off constantly. Yes, it's helpful to know when the exact window is, you know, when it's on and then when it disables, so you know not to expect the crits, but at the same time, you just kinda don't need that. You get a feel for it. And I think Rises and Sunbreak's method of having skills have audio and visual effects but not on-screen text was a perfect middle ground. But the thing is, that's a minor issue, really. The only other remaining thing for me is still performance. And unanimously, across the board, everyone who got to play at this event, those lucky bastards, have said it has never felt better, even compared to and especially compared to their experiences in the open beta. And they've said in interviews since that they are committed to making it even better beyond that, especially for PC heading towards release, which is really promising. Of course, the proof will be in the final pudding, but I have never been more hopeful. And even the somewhat brave new approach for the story to be really about the people and the hunters, as opposed to just, here's a flagship, it's doing a thing, oh, you killed it, it wasn't really the flagship, it was the end boss, oh, you killed it, congratulations, that we have quite literally had. In essence, there's been a few little twists and turns, but for the most part, 4 games in a row. And that's not inherently a bad thing. Monster Hunter's narrative and world building has just gotten better and better. Well, the world building has always been a masterclass. That's one of the reasons it hits so hard, as the Monster Hunter world is so fascinating and quite literally brought to life, but the thread to get you hunting has always just been kind of that, whereas I think this time around we're kind of really in for a proper narrative treat. The hunter talking, the cinematics. I know a lot of people, well, an amount of people at least, are a little bit unsure on that, or prefer to just get straight to the point, but I think it really is a strength and a beauty of the Monster Hunter series that every generation, every new major game does actually have a little bit of a twist or a focus or a unique thing going for it, whether it is mechanically or within how the game is presented and structured, or in a lot of cases both. And we are seeing a lot of cool things get implemented, at least back, having repel quests but for apexes, or at least non-elder dragons, is really exciting. Having optional components to quests, again, is fun to see. But I think one of the best examples of real upgrades, quality of life, attention to detail, actually comes from what many might consider quite a sort of okay, fine part of the game, and that's the training room. The training barrel, the training tetranodon and Rise and Sunbreak that is now, well, absolutely decked out in options. So you can change the strength of the hide, you can have wounds going, you can have various modes, you can make it different orientation, different states, you can even increase the strength of the monster by stars, you can actually have your armor skills activated to see how they interact, and it's just really freaking cool. Like, there is so much just here to really fine-tune your ability to test your builds, your skills, your knowledge as you prepare and go through the game, and I don't think at any point any of that's super necessary. Tetranodon had a lot of extra modes too, which were really helpful, but this is completely next level, and it's this kind of thing that's just really, really cool. And another little detail is that if you hunt enough of the same monster now, you start unlocking titles based on how many you've killed. I think that is absolutely charming as well. And past that, the ability to customize yourself out the gate by selecting individual pieces of armor to toggle on and off, that's always good to see. And outside of mechanical quality of life, there's even such ridiculous levels of detail to the actual world. Like, yes, we know this isn't anything crazy revelatory that I'm saying, but I think we never even realized just how far it goes. In fact, I think my favorite confirmation / reveal from this week's events is that because the people in the Windsong Village don't hunt, the concept is unknown to them, they don't use weapons, they don't fight, in order to stay safe, they specially craft wind chimes that mimic the sound of Raidao's roar, and given that he's the biggest, baddest monster on the plains, all the other monsters just don't go near the village because they get tricked into thinking it's just a giant Raidao nest, which is just phenomenal. And if you go stand by them like we could in beta, yeah, they do sound like Raidao, and certain people did call that might actually turn out to be the case. The thing is, though, what if it like says hi and attracts an actual Raidao, and like, oh, there's a Raidao over there, I'm gonna go see what's going on, or I'm gonna get him out my territory. But, you know, I think a little bit of forgiveness is fine there. And talking of sounds, look how they actually make Raidao sounds. I mean, it's just so fun to see in action.
So to make it sound a little bit more natural, we're going to add a few animal voices.
basically, things are just looking lovely. I would say they're looking up, but that implies they were ever looking down. They're just looking to be excellent. It's very, very clear that now everything has come out that has come out. Capcom is, although we pretty much knew this, absolutely committed to making Wilds the absolute best it can be. And having all of this feedback addressed, taken into account, changed so instantly, so directly, is really, really lovely. And I feel like Wilds is shaping up to be even more special than I first thought, and I think just, taking a moment to kind of stop and address that, to really take it in, to really look at just what's happening is important. And while I think there are still discussions to have on choices being made, I think the big one is offensive skills tied to weapons to encourage the use of the two-weapon switching system is probably the biggest one for me, and one that I can see a lot of pros and cons for, but I think it's hard to talk about it without seeing how it will actually end up in the end game, how many skills we're actually given to play around with. It might turn out to be a complete non-issue when our sets still look like our sets, and indeed they did say endgame sets and the endgame loop in terms of that side of things and builds will be very familiar to World Iceborne Rise Sunbreak, so I'm not actually, that concerned when it comes to that. More than anything, I am just more excited than I've ever been, and I don't think I need to tell you that I was already ridiculously excited. So I would love to know what you guys think when it comes to everything positive that has happened. Obviously, as I say, the question of performance is looking better than ever, but the final release will tell all. But I think we really have the makings of something truly spectacular, not just in the world of Monster Hunter, but just games in general. For now then, let me know what your favourite new little tidbit we got was, and obviously they're completely redoing, upgrading 4 of the most underperforming weapons in Switch Axe, Lance, Sword and Shield, and Insect Glaive, so, that's really cool as well. I can't believe I didn't even talk about that yet, but yeah, let me know what your favourite new little tidbit from the various reveals was, and for now, I will speak to you all very soon. Like if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below. And until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.